Welcome to the Gyrl podcast, the show where purpose meets inspiration. Each week, I sit down with incredible individuals who open up about their real life journeys, the wins, the setbacks, and the lessons in between. So, whether you're navigating career moves, entrepreneurship, or personal growth, you're in the right place. I'm Kyra Mitchell Lewis, your host, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's go up together. All right, friends, welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you're having a fantastic week. I'm really excited to bring Carly Pepin into the show today. We'll be talking about all things mindset and how to make that mindset shift to really see a challenge as an opportunity. We all know we have all experienced challenges in our lives, and we know that it takes a very special mindset in order for us to be able to see that challenge, to see down the road and see how it can be turned into an opportunity and how it can actually benefit us all, like in our lives. So, all right, stay tuned. Let me grab Carly and we will get the discussion going. All right, let's welcome Carly to the show. Welcome, Carly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, before we dive into our chat today, why don't you tell the audience listening or watching who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I am a human behavior specialist and business coach, and I really love working with specifically individuals who are looking to expand their vision, experience it, bring it to life. And a lot of them are using business as a vehicle. Sometimes the business is the vehicle and it's part of the business, but sometimes the business is actually so they can fuel it for the future. So it kind of depends on the person, but I really love helping people to experience that.
Awesome. Awesome. Love that. Well, we're going to get started. We're going to dive on into this conversation because I know one of the areas in which you help people is really sort of like with a mindset shift of sort of seeing challenges and how those challenges are like opportunities. And so I'd like to start, we're going to talk about women. What are some of the typical challenges that you see women encounter daily?
Yeah, a lot of it is us doubting ourselves,
Mm.
comparing ourselves to, we often compare ourselves to men and we perceive that there's certain roles that maybe they're capable of or we're not. And it's all different just based on our own upbringing and our experiences, and sometimes society and what we encounter out there as well. And so that's a big deal is just sort of paying attention to that inner dialogue and seeing where your comparisons are coming in because as opposed to generalizing it and saying we all do it in this specific way, like we're very specific based on our very specific experiences
Yes.
and seeing like what those comparisons are, and I think for me, because I'm in the business world, there is a significant quantity of men in executive roles. And so I find that I do have that where it comes up quite often comparing myself to a masculine role, right? An individual
Mm.
who is a male, and that comes up quite frequently. And that's something that I've had the opportunity to work on as well. But again, that's also the experience that I have just based off the people that I'm encountering. And there's some businesses I know that are very female driven. Like I have one client that I work with, and it's a very female driven business. So it's completely different when I walk in. Yeah. And those are just, yeah, different dynamics, but we have fun. We really have a lot of fun with that group. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you pointed that out, and I'm glad that you said, yeah, because it's like unique experiences for each person. Like we're not all experiencing the same thing because we're all different. So I really love that. Let's talk about that process that you use. You have a three-step process, right? Where you help people sort of transform the challenges before them into opportunities, which is like one of my favorite things to tell people at work. So I'm really excited to hear your process so I can use some of that in my everyday life.
Yeah, so the first step is we want to get the clarity, then we shift the mindset, and then we tap into our purpose. And so how this works is we want to ask ourselves quality questions, right? So
Mhm.
if you're not having a coach or something, it's making sure you're asking help quality questions to see what's actually going on and where this is truly stemming from. Maybe it is a comparison. It might be a comparison, it might be a fear, there might be something else going on, a frustration, an anger, resentment. Maybe you're jealous of someone. I'm not quite sure. But that's the first question. It's like, what's the actual emotion driving behind this, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And yeah, we really want to get clarity on what and where it's coming from. And sometimes you'll immediately say, "Oh, wow, well, this is just something that I feel that I'm experiencing in the present." And sometimes, like, we'll look into it and say, "Oh my gosh, like, this is something that, yes, I'm experiencing in the present, but it also reminds me of some significant events that I experienced in my childhood."
Mhm.
Right? So that's that clarity dynamic too, is once we
Mhm.
see what's happening in the present and the very specific things that are either frustrating us or the things maybe we're jealous of or fearful of, is this the first time it's happened or has something similar happened in the past? And the reason that we want to look at the past as well is because once we move to the next step mindset, I start with the past first. I like to start with the
Mhm.
past first just because that's like the root cause. And there's a high probability that a lot of the present will be cleared, sometimes all, which is pretty cool, as a result of working on that past dynamic. So we focus on the biggest charge, the biggest challenge that you've ever experienced
Mhm.
with this particular thing that's challenging you, triggering you. We shift the mindset around that. And then it's another check in. It's like, okay, well, now let's check in with the present thing today. Is that still bothering you? And if it's is, let's see what the little things are so we can nitpick it and move forward. And if it's not bothering you anymore, great. Like it's kind of that snowball effect
Mhm.
where the past definitely cleared that. And the reason why we want to tap into purpose after that is because, once you clear this dynamic and you clear these fears, these emotional triggers, these charges you have, and you shift your mindset, you open up your executive center to a greater degree. So that's our forebrain. And that's where we actually know what to take in regards to inspired actions, things that are meaningful and purposeful to us. So, after going through those two steps, it's specifically understanding like what's the best and most purposeful action that you can take into regards to like what we've been working on that would help you see an even greater shift in life, right? So, we like to balance not just the inner, but also the
Mhm.
outer. So the inside with the outside, and that can give you the greatest effect in life. So I don't ever want to forget the outside. And we wait for last, so we get the meaningful version of the outside instead of the, fight or flight or the triggered or
Mhm.
emotionally charged
Mhm.
version.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
do you find sometimes, Carla, that people try to skip the clarity part? Like, a lot of times, like, when people, like, don't understand, like, the process as you just walked through, it makes so much sense. It helps you to figure out, like you said, those things that are triggering you, and like you mentioned, they do often stem from your past. So, but a lot of times people try to skip over the hurts or the things that, usually those things, and try to get straight to, like, "Let's fix me."
Yeah. So the interesting thing about this too is, there's no fixing you, by the way. Like there's no the fa you're
Right.
beautiful for the way you are. Genuinely. Part of the work that I love to do is to just make sure people see that. And that's why we go work on the past. Is like no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've done or not done, you're definitely worthy of love. And then once you see that, it's
Mhm.
like I don't have to fix you. So oftentimes when people come in, it's like, let's fix this, let's fix that. It's like, let's get some gratitude and then let's move forward.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's interesting because for the most part, people really they like to work on things because there's a
Mhm.
genuine dynamic of people wanting to shift. And, I'm not inexpensive to work with by any means, but at the same time, because of that, I'm attracting, generally speaking, clients who, when they show up, they really want to get to the other side. Like if they've made an investment,
Mhm.
like it's for a reason and they're really, really, really having a strong desire to get to the other side. Otherwise, they just wouldn't have signed up with me,
Right.
So yeah, although it does happen from time to time. When it does happen, I like to do a check-in because, we are intuitive beings and there's reasons why we overcome things, but there's also reasons why we hold on to things. And, I was working with someone and it was really interesting because had we cleared their biggest trauma, the biggest wound immediately, it actually would have crashed their business because of the way that they had built their business around it. So before we can even
Oh,
work
wow.
on that, yeah, and that dynamic, it was like, all right, well, let's first get you a strategy because they really wanted to overcome it, but they just couldn't get to the other side. So we had to find out what they were benefiting, how they were like this whole holding on was serving them. And so when we really got down to it and we saw that, it's like, well, let's stop trying to push you to work on something that
Mhm.
clearly you don't want to work on because it's true, your business is far more important. And let's come up with a new business strategy. And why don't we work on that dynamic and shift gears a little bit? Because this is the cool thing, guys, is like if you have something that you're like, wow, I can see that I've been gaining from holding on to this because I've relied on XYZ in the back end so much, figure out a strategy and solution to replace whatever benefits you're getting from holding on to the strategy and then
Mhm.
go clear the strategy. And this is part of that self-love and appreciation for who you are.
Mhm.
You don't need to crash down your whole world to overcome something, and knowing that like, "Oh, okay, hey, like I could work on this and then actually nip this one in the butt," like that would be great.
Mhm.
So, yeah, whenever I have a client who's really resistant, it's not like, "What's wrong with you? You don't wanna work." It's like, "Let's actually see why you don't wanna work because you're
Right.
probably holding on to this for a reason, and let's make sure I'm not, like, trying to crash your life down without even knowing it, like,
Yeah.
and put some strategies in place."
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's amazing because a lot of people, I'm not saying like that people do this, but there may be situations where people may not be able to see them as you see them and to say, like, let's figure it out. Like it may be some situations where somebody's like, okay, well, these are the steps. And we're gonna do we're gonna do the steps and you're gonna change.
Yeah, and they're
But
like, "No, I'm not."
it
Yeah.
is
And then
exactly. It feels like, yeah, it definitely feels like
Mm.
people are more open. What I'm hearing from your approach is that you really take the time to see people and to meet them where they are.
Meet them where they're at and come up with solutions that work for them so they can
Mhm.
actually get the work done
Yeah.
instead of forcing them into situations that just will hinder them for longer
Yeah.
periods of
And
time. Yeah.
it's great because it's all like you said, it's like you're tailoring the solution to fit the need. And you're not just
Yeah.
trying to sell, you're not just giving everybody the same, like, you do this. But you you are listening. And I think that's pretty awesome because a lot of times most people who may be dealing with those types of like things, all of us, when we have things that are triggering us, it's like because we don't feel seen, we don't feel
Uh-huh.
heard. And it's like when you dig into it and it's like, well, why? What the why of it. Like it's the why
Um,
it's happening can be painful, but gosh, but when you can get to the root of it, like you mentioned, it does give you that clarity as to why you've been doing something a certain way.
yeah, it's pretty amazing. And it's funny, there was one client, because this reminds me, like when you really, you care enough to like get to the root of something. I had one client who I was working with. And it was very challenging, and I said at a certain point, I was like, "I just wanna acknowledge it, I'm not upset, but you seem very resistant to working with me. Can we open up that a little more?" And when we did some digging, it turns out one of the individuals that they were working on that they had gone through some major trauma with, I reminded them of that. And I said, "Okay."
Mhm.
I was like, "I love it, I appreciate it," and I said, "Would it be wisdom, like, for me to find you another, like, qualified coach that I know of and refer you to, and we could pass this package on to them and help you out?" And they're like,
Mhm.
"I think so." And I was like, "Let's not push this. Let's not make this crazy." And it was really cool because after she worked with this other individual, a friend of mine, she reached out to me and she's like, "Thank you so much." She's like,
Mhm.
and we wound up connecting again. She's like, "Thank you. I really appreciate you." She's like, "You definitely don't trigger me anymore." But she's like, "There's no way I was gonna be able to get this done with you." And I was like, "I know, I felt it, girl."
Oh, man.
Yeah. So
I
that's the thing too, is like listen to yourself. And even if you work in this business and you're working with people, listen to them because you also might not
Mhm.
be the best fit. You might be their trauma reminder, and it's really hard to get through that.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I love that you were able to
Yeah.
you just faced it head on and just had an open conversation about it as opposed to trying to keep forcing something that wasn't like working. So I
Yeah.
think that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So I obviously like anything like I think us listening and hearing you talk about the process, like we understand why they have to be done together to in order for there to be a successful transformation, like the challenge into the opportunity. Is there anything else that you want to add as to like why it's so important to perform all three steps together?
Yeah, so the important thing is here's the thing with personal development, the reason why we want to focus on clarity is there are an infinite number of things that you can work on. For
Right.
anyone
Yeah.
who thinks they don't have much work to do, just sit with me for like 5 minutes and I can pull out an infinite number of things, even for myself. Like, that's the truth. And so, if you're just doing things that are kind of hit and miss, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get bored, and it just gets hard to upkeep something on a regular basis
Mhm.
that's not getting you the results that you want, right? So this
Right.
is what we do it for ourselves. We find that clarity. you know? So that's the really important part. If you don't get the full mindset shift, we're not gonna get that full transformation in life, right?
Mhm.
And so that's like, yeah, that's also a really interesting dynamic. And just working with someone who had some challenges with their romantic partner. And it was interesting because as we started to shift the mindset around what was occurring and they started to see how the challenges were serving them and how this was helping them their life, how it was helping them to grow, right? Like why
Mhm.
basically they drew this in for their own journey and their own soul's journey. The next time that I had the opportunity to talk to them, they were like, well, she totally did the same thing again, but he's like, I didn't even notice. Like it didn't even trigger me. And then all of a sudden, like 10 minutes later, I was like, "Oh my god, she did it again." And I was like, "It didn't even bother me this time." And so that's why it's so important to have the mindset shift because when you have that full shift, you could experience those same things and it won't have the same impact. Obviously, if it's a very traumatic situation, that's a different story. Like it'll still be quite challenging if you happen to go through a trauma again, but you'll have a different perspective. And that's pretty cool too because I've had the opportunity to see people who have done this type of work before and then have a traumatic experience and by the time I get to them their brain's already working, it's already thinking, and they're like, "Well, I've gotten this out of this, and I've gotten this, and I could see that this has been helpful." And they're like, "This is where I'm stuck," right? And so they've already actually done some of the inner work to get to a certain degree, so it's not as challenging for them after an experience like that. So that's why another component of the mindset and just learning to make this more of a natural part of the day-to-day life. And the purpose is so important. Because if I just give you a list of actions to take, sometimes people will be like, "What's your morning routine like?" And I'm like, "My morning routine is very specifically geared towards Carly as an individual and what inspires her. If you did what I did every day, it probably will burn you out and you'll be exhausted." And
Mhm.
so that's why it's so important to create actions around things that are truly meaningful to you, truly purposeful that I know that you're going to go out and I know you're going to take action on. I
Mhm.
know you're going to do. And that's part of the learning process of ourselves too. So if I sit there at the end of a session and I tell someone to go do something and I know they're not going to do it, like they're going to come back and beat themselves up and think, "Oh, I couldn't do it. I let you down. I'm not doing well in the coaching package." And it's like, no, 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 no. Let's not do that.
Mhm.
Let's actually figure out what would have been more aligned for you, right? So that's
Mhm.
what we want. We want aligned actions because an aligned action is something you're not going to procrastinate on, something that you're going to move forward on no matter what. So then when you come back, you do feel that confidence, you do feel that self-esteem, and it's not because of me, it's just because we found something that's aligned with you and I knew you're gonna do no matter what. I was like, "I know this is important to you. You're gonna do it. This goes along with the work we did today. Go for it," you know?
Mhm.
And so stuff like that, that's why it's really important because again, actions that aren't meaningful, you're gonna procrastinate on and you beat
Yeah.
yourself up and it's like a
Yeah,
vicious
and you're gonna
cycle.
just be yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say. You're just gonna be going around in this circle, like, coming back to Carly saying,
Mhm.
"Carly, I couldn't do it." And then
Yeah.
no, I love that. I think that's really awesome. It just says so much about you and how you approach your work and how you work with people. Again, I know I said this before, but it is truly showing that you see people like for who they are and you understand, you help them to find the clarity and understand what the need is and how to help them. And I think that's just awesome because it is a lot of times you just get programs where it's like a sort of like program in a box and it's like,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do this thing, here are the steps we're gonna take. And the steps never take into account like if they're going to work for the person. It's just this is the program that they're running and they aren't going to change it based on your needs. So so I like that. I think that's awesome. So let's talk about the perspectives, right? You were just sort of talking about like um stories that people, that they've created, that they have in their minds. What can people hope to change in their lives when they do the work and they're starting to shift those perspectives on like whatever that story may be, that they're bringing to you weekly.
Yeah. So definitely when you start to shift things in your lives, it's shifting things that are more aligned with your unique values, your unique purpose, right? So I do have like a questionnaire on my website where people can go fill it out to get an idea of that because I know that that's something that seems a bit nebulous, right? But the cool thing is your life's already demonstrating it on a daily day-to-day basis. So if I broke down your life, so the question kind of breaks down your life and like what your life looks like and what you're actually doing. And what's going to be cool is you'll see like a commonality to answers. And in those answers, you'll be like, yeah, those things are the most meaningful to me. I do spend the most time on those things.
Mhm.
Everything else we procrastinate on. So whenever I think about like creating, just all these action steps, like purposeful things for my clients. It's like, well, let's see what is really important and inspiring to you, and let's make sure you're doing that every single day. Because I also
Mhm.
know that you have the most resilience there. You're still going to have challenges, you're still going to get stuck, you're still going to have emotions, but you're going to do what it takes to get to the other side. And that's really
Mhm.
important. Yeah,
Mhm.
because it's so important to you. So that's one of the things that I really hyper focus on is
Mhm.
what's most important to this person, and how do I make sure, even while we're doing all these other components, that every day they're focused on it, and just I
Mhm.
kind of push that one pretty hard.
No,
So you'll feel better. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
fantastic because I mean, like you mentioned, like things that don't align to someone's values, like you said, they're either not going to do it or they're just going to keep looking at it and saying, I'm going to do it. And again, it turns into they don't do it. But when you find things that truly are in the value system that matter to you to the core of who you are as a person. And I also like that you said, reminded us that those are areas where we are most resilient.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah. And I love that. I was sitting here thinking, I was like, wow, that questionnaire is pretty interesting.
It's fun.
Serves like as like a reminder. I mean, but I think like the purpose part of like people's lives is so important. And, and I feel like it just helps people in a number of ways to, like, get closer to the things that matter to them, the things that are important, making whether it's, like, a career or a business that they wanna start, like, finding the things that align to your value set so that you want to be doing it, and it doesn't feel like I know people say this, and they're like, "Oh, it doesn't feel like work." But I feel like it truly when you're in the thing that you're most like, is the purpose for you, like, it doesn't feel like that. Like, and then, like you mentioned, the challenges will still come, but you'll have a different mindset as you approach challenges because you're just like, "Oh, this is just one more thing I've gotta defeat. Like, let's tackle it. Let's do it." Because it's in that system of, like, what you value and what's important to you. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful. There's, people talk about work-life balance a lot, and it was interesting because
mm,
I was just on like this radio show, and they had a group of us together, and it was all different
uh-huh.
industries. It was very cool. But they were asking about work-life balance, and every single person in that group definitely was doing what they loved. And they're like, "Well, I don't really see a separation between work and life, and seems
Yeah.
the same." And every person had the same answer. Like, there's really no separation. It's absolutely the same. We don't feel the need to take breaks, but we kind of naturally do. But it really just blends. Like, one just seems to blend into the other. So
Mhm.
that's the important thing too. It's like when you do what you love and you love what you do, you don't want to take a break from it. Like, you really genuinely love doing it, and it's actually hard to take a break because it's so inspiring. And part of the work life balance is finding something that you enjoy so much that it feels like it integrates into your life so naturally. So it's pretty cool, and everyone has the possibility and capability of
Mhm.
doing it, and there'll be parts of your life that you already think of and know that that exists in, and it's just adding more and more of that on a regular basis.
Mm.
Mhm.
Um, Carly, how is your perspective on life's purpose different from what most people think today?
Yeah, we tapped into a teeny bit, but basically, like, everyone talks about it in the sense that you have to go find it, right?
Mhm.
Like, you have to find it, like, something's missing. So if you have to find it, that means you don't have one, and that's something doesn't exist inside you, but you can't even exist, like, on this planet without having a purpose. Like, there's
Mhm.
a reason for you, and so that is already in you, that already exists, and that's the thing. It's in your life. It's demonstrating in your life on a day-to-day basis what's most important to you, what you're inspired by. And every day you wake up and you're most focused, most dedicated, you're most proactive in these very specific areas of life that are most valuable to you. And that's your life purpose. That questionnaire that I was talking about, it kind of compiles that in a way to ask questions very specifically to find out what your focus is and how you're actually spending your time and where you're making, like, the most progress, and sometimes you don't even see it, but then when you look at it, you're like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, like, I am doing that." And it's not what we think it should be, right? Because that's not actually important. It's what it truly is, right? That's another thing about purpose. It's like, oh, I should be this and I should be this and it's supposed to be this and it's supposed to be that. And that's not what it is at all. It's what's truly valuable to you and how you truly spend your time, right? And I spend a significant quantity of time. I love my business so much. So I'm constantly like I'm focused on it a lot.
Mhm.
And then also I love my family. I spend so much time with my family,
Mhm.
right? So you're seeing my values come forward in a very specific way. I spend a significant quantity of time around health, right? And so if you look at all those dynamics, that's what I invest the most time and energy in, right? I was just talking to my husband about this. Like within my business, there's certain aspects that I don't value to the same degree. I don't value marketing to the same degree. I don't value sales to the same degree. I just love teaching and love coaching and love speaking, right? Like that's my favorite thing to do. But the other aspects I don't value to the same degree. And we consistently think I should, I have to, I must like love all this stuff. But the truth is like you're gonna love what you love. You're gonna put the most time and energy into what's important to you. And if you don't know what that is, you may spend your whole day, which I've done in the past when I first started my business, trying to be a sales and marketer instead of just figuring out, okay, how do I just be a coach? Like what's the best way to be a coach? And instead of being just sales and marketing, my main thing has been how can I use teaching as a sales and marketing tool? Because I like teaching, and even on some sales calls, it's like coaching's gonna come in because I don't want to not coach. I don't want to, or else I don't want to
Yeah.
be on I don't want to be on the sales calls. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to be talking to you right now if I have to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
just like the sales script. And so it's a
Yeah.
really interesting dynamic where when you connect with who you are, you can still do all this stuff, but you start to tailor it in a very specific way that
Mhm.
you're fueled by, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, will I get on a sales call if I get to do a little bit of this coaching dynamic in this very unique way that I want to do it? Yes. Will I get on a sales
Yes.
call if I have to go through that sales script? No. No. Don't make
I
me
will
talk to
I
you.
will not do it. I will
I'm
procrastinate.
so exhausted. Yeah.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
yeah,
I've
like
I love that, but you found a way to still do that thing, but
yeah.
in a way that's meaningful to you, and you're still teaching and you're still coaching people through that first thing, which obviously I'm pretty sure works out because people are seeing like, "Oh wow, like this is what I'm going to get. Like
Yeah,
this is how it
for
works with
sure.
her." Yeah.
For sure.
She's like, "Nope, hang up." And I'm not doing marketing. I love that because it's true. It kinda goes back to, like, I always tell people, like, you can't be all things to all people. Like,
No,
you
you
you you
can't.
you you can't, or you'll burn yourself out, and you just have to figure out, like, what's important and where the space where you feel like is, like, your zone of, like, what is it? Zone of genius or
Yeah.
something, they say. Yeah, like, you gotta find that space and, like, be in it. So, I love
Yeah.
that, though. So Carly, why don't you tell people, who might be listening or watching us, how they can connect to you and how they might work with you?
So definitely head over to westcoastgrowthadvisors.com. I have that questionnaire in the tools and research section, so that would be really fun. That's the values determination. And you could just reach out to me directly from the website. Just reach out and yeah, I can ask you some questions. We'll see if you're something that you're working through that I can help with. And sometimes if not, I have lots of referrals to send you to.
Awesome.
Mhm.
Awesome. Love that. Okay. So now we're going to transition to three things with Carly. So, ever since you were talking about the routine, like your morning routine, I've been like waiting to get to this question. So this first one's a two-parter. I like to ask
Uh,
because I'm so intrigued by people and how they start and end the day. So
yeah.
that is my first question to you.
Yeah. Okay. So how I start the day is what I feel like.
Mhm.
When I wake up in the morning, I usually give myself an hour before I have anything to do. And that hour is waking up and asking myself that question, what do I actually want to do right now? So sometimes I listen to audiobooks. This
Mhm.
morning I took some extra time to cuddle with my husband because he happened to be up a little earlier. We had some cuddle time, me, my husband, and my dog. Sometimes I'm catching up on audio message with friends. Sometimes I'm doing personal development. Sometimes I'm listening to audiobooks and learning. And that's pretty much my main focus.
Mhm.
And those are all my favorite things to do. And I just think to myself, which one sounds most inspiring to me.
Mm,
Sometimes I get on my work and just email, like, sometimes I feel like it, where I just think, "Oh, I just
mhm,
wanna, like, start working," and I will. I'll just get up and I'll be like, "Yeah,
mhm.
I'm tired. I just wanna start working," and I sit on my computer. It's interesting. It's just really connecting with what I really feel like my energy resonates with. Sometimes I organize.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I think that's really smart. And then, how do you end the day?
It's very similar. It's
Mhm,
definitely very similar where it's like, what do I really feel like doing? But it's definitely usually more in line with spending time with my husband and
mhm,
sometimes with family. It just depends on who's here. But usually at a certain point, I kind of wind down and disconnect on my phone. And then we'll just sort of hang out and do our own things. And sometimes we watch movies together. Sometimes we watch movies separately.
mhm,
Sometimes we're just like chilling and hanging and talking. And yeah, it's usually pretty chill at the end of the day. Sometimes I
mm.
take baths. I like taking a bath at night
Nice.
sometimes. Yeah.
Awesome, nice. I
Yeah.
like it. I like it. I like it. I get from that, like, just listening to yourself and what you feel like, doing what you wanna do, and I like that.
Yeah.
What's a goal or intention you set for yourself this year?
I've said so many. I've said so many. I set goals in multiple areas of life. So I have health goals
Mhm,
and I have health goals and I have health coach. I have fitness goals and like fitness coach. I have,
mhm,
my personal development goals and I have like my mindset coach. I have my business goals and a business coach.
mhm, mhm,
So I have goals in multiple areas of life. And my main focus is to just make sure I'm and, like, part of going through that values determination process, you'll see that you don't just have one thing that you focus on. So, my main goal is to make sure that my goals are multifaceted in the sense that I don't just have one area of life that I have a goal around. I have goals around all things that are valuable to me. So, I make
mhm,
sure that that gives me permission and the opportunity to connect with those things every day. Because the more we're connected with things that are fulfilling to us, the more that we're fulfilled. So sometimes we put other goals aside because we prioritize this one other value, not realizing like you'll feel it. You'll feel like the gap. And it's like, oh, I just feel like I let go of part of that. And like, why did I do that? And it's like, well, I thought I had to do all this and I needed to take a break on that when in actuality I do better when I'm doing both. Right.
mhm,
So that's why
mhm.
it's really important to kind of focus on those multiple dynamics. Yeah.
Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, last question. Where are you currently finding inspiration?
Yeah, so right now, definitely finding inspiration. I would say the most recently it's been uncovering a lot of misperceptions that I've had, right? So about
Mhm,
myself, about like business, that's been a huge focus for me. And that's been really inspiring, right? Really, really inspiring. I've had some major misperceptions and it's been cool to just work with friends and my coaches and stuff and kind of see the other side and then create things in business around that, which also includes my partner because we talk about business all the time. Yeah, so he's also a huge spot where I find inspiration. Yeah.
Awesome. Love
Yep.
that. All right. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much. I love those answers, Carly. I want to say thank you so much for joining and sharing all this knowledge with the community today. I have one last final question for you, and that is what are three things you'd like the audience to take away from our conversation today?
Yeah, there's nothing missing inside you, that everything that you have is already within you. No matter what you've done or not done, you're definitely worthy of love, and you are definitely worth putting in the energy and effort to create that inspiring life that you love. Yeah, you are a high value asset, and definitely treat yourself like one. Yeah.
Yes. Ooh, love that. That's great. Well, Carly, thank you so much again for coming and sharing with the community today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's thank Carly again for all those wonderful, wonderful insights. I don't know about you, but I was just telling her that like her voice is so soothing. I can listen to her talk like forever. But also just really love her approach to coaching and really means a lot when you want to work with people and they truly like see you and they really seek to understand like who you are as a person. And I really got that from her and how she approaches working with her clients. So make sure you check out the link in the show note to reach out to Carly if you're interested in learning more information about her program, or if you're interested in taking that assessment that she spoke about, or, if you want to connect to her. All right, if you want to learn more about Glow Up Girl, you can check us out at glowupgirl.com. You can go there. You can check out the infamous merchandise that we offer. I know. I always talk about the merch. And then you're like, but you're not wearing the merch. And I apologize. I'm so sorry. I promise there are episodes where I'm wearing the merch. But I was coming off of recording right after work. So I still had on my work top. So apologies, friends, but go on over there and check it out. You can check out, we got shirts, we got totes, we got mugs, we got water bottles, like all the fun things that you need to show off your Glow Up Girl style. All right, so if you are new here to the community, I just want to say welcome. I hope you enjoyed what you heard today. I hope you will check out other episodes. I hope you'll come back in the future. If you are a member of the community and you've been with us, I just want to say thank you for all of the support. All right, also, if you are listening to this episode and you're wondering what is going on behind the scenes, you can watch us on YouTube. So check out our Glow Up Girl YouTube channel. We are at Glow Up Girl. So go there, do all the things, like, subscribe, leave a comment. And also, if you're on a platform where you can rate or review the show, please make sure you do so. I really love it. And thank you in advance. And also, if you're on social, make sure you tag us if you're sharing our content. And finally, make sure you share this episode with someone who you think might need to hear this. And lastly, if you have any thoughts, ideas, or people I should be talking to, make sure you send me a DM on Instagram or an email to hello@glowupgirl.com. All right, that's everything, my friends. Well, I want to say thank you so much again for taking time out of your day, wherever you may be in the world, to listen. I will see you all again next week. So stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.